Ready places. Harv and Pawn is live. 5, 4, 3, 2.
A show with me, Harvey. Hello, I am the Ronin Pawn.
And I am HOC Gaming.
Welcome to the Harv and Pawn Show, your weekly something where the two guys sit at the weird desk and Harvey loses his headphones, apparently.
I'm fine.
Okay.
It's all good.
Been sort of smoking something? You're a little bit, what's going on over there?
I don't know where I am or what time or what year it is, but it's all good.
Hello, Hologram 1 and Mosaic Task Force. I see you there's in chat. And, nipples are banned on Twitch, Harvey. I wasn't...
Are they? I mean, we just showed them without any trouble, so...
The actual policy of Twitch, for those of you who are interested, is that nipples are okay in places where nipples are appropriate.
Like in a bathroom. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't think of any more appropriate place to show nipples.
Now, feet, however, feet are something you're not allowed to...
Too many people these days are showing their goddamn feet all over Twitch. God.
Ooh, Hologram 1 liked it. I think you got a date if you want.
You know what? Actually, Pawn, all this talk of feet and nipples is getting me kind of hot. Could you just push to a close in of me for a second? That's
Oh my God! How in the Lord's name did you acquire a Ronin Pawn t-shirt?
Oh, did you not notice one was missing from your wardrobe? I snuck in one night. I just flew to Detroit and snuck in one night.
I've been hearing creaking floorboards and stuff at night. Wow, and what are the... I don't usually wear my shirts.
I know, right? What are the odds? Oh, I'm too...
No,
yeah.
like seriously though, you guys, we did not plan this. He totally kept that from me the entire time. I was wearing this shirt, like it was on the floor a couple of hours ago, because it's hot here, so I wasn't wearing anything, baby. But,
could not have turned out better. I'm so thankful that the Lords of Fate deemed it so that you would choose today to wear your merchandise.
Yeah, you must have been friggin' jeez. We meet, before. Oh no, but you didn't see me until now. Until
No,
just
no,
now,
I had
so
no
you
idea
didn't
until
even know.
literally, like at the start of the stream, I was just internally going, yes,
Well, thank you for buying my merch or acquiring it somehow or
I didn't
stealing
buy
it
it,
from
I
my
stole
house. Okay, sure. I mean, there are people in your area. It's where most of them went. I remember shipping them by hand. That's where most of them went. Wow, that's so
Wow.
cool.
This is, you know what this is?
What's this?
This is trippy.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a little bit wibbly wobbly. It's a little bit timey wimey.
Timey-wimey.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to jump straight into it today, and this is a very interesting topic, I think. I mean, anything that concerns the nature of the human mind and psychedelic effects thereupon is never makes for a boring conversation.
I think I can work
Wouldn't you
that. I can make anything boring. Just keep me talking about it. But yeah, I have had a number of experiences myself revolving around time, what I call time dilation, most of the time as elicited by the substance known as cannabis, THC, CBD.
Marijuana.
Also, marijuana, Mary Jane, dat dankest chronic, the sticky icky, the I'm just searching now.
The good bud.
Bong matter.
We could spend this entire stream just trying to think of names for it, but yes. So we have kind of a couple of things, a couple of more interesting topics to kind of discuss in this area, because we could just sit here reminiscing over insane trips we've had, which in fact might be a big part of it.
Bro. No, go ahead.
But the Twitch and the YouTube descriptions and the titles don't lie, porn. What is this about time dilation, meditation, and Zen?
Well, there is a link between all of them. First, I'd like to address the primary issue of, is time travel possible? And of course, that question has a very explicit answer. That answer is yeah. You're doing it right now, so am I, dude.
Forwards. Yeah.
420
Time
plays
traveling forwards all the time.
all the time. Yeah, it is. It does get old, doesn't it? Just going forwards in time.
Yeah. I've been doing it my whole life, and I'm pretty fucking tired of life. No. But it is an interesting point when you start talking about it like that, because one of the kind of existential themes we can touch on is how the perception of time passing is not a sense that you actually ever have. You actually don't ever feel time passing because it doesn't work like that. It's more just that you assume that the instantaneous you that exists right now has a history and has a future. It's all just fundamentally predicated on that assumption that we're going to keep existing.
And has a past. And has a past. Because I could launch right now into my first ever awakening as a Zen practitioner. In case you are unaware, I actually checked myself into a Zen Buddhist monastery for 3 years with the stated intention from the day that I walked in of becoming a Zen monk, which happened after practicing as just a Zen practitioner, member of the Sangha, for like 6 months under my teacher. My teacher invited me specifically to please, come to this retreat we're going to have, which is 7 days that you sit down with a whole bunch of other people and you stare at a wall seated on a cushion. You really do. You just, take up a posture and you stare at a wall for 7 days. And of course, it's not 7 days straight. There are breaks for walking. There are obviously
And
we
water,
eat and we
presumably.
sleep and yes. But it's 7 days of rigorous meditation, especially geared toward people who work for a living. Like if you're willing to take a week off to really get into a meditation practice, then we're going to be meditating like 11, 12 hours a day in like 3 hour long sessions, which is some hard shit. Try it sometime. And yeah, my first, I checked into the Zen Center as a monk to practice, saying, I want to live here, I want to be a monk after my first 7 day retreat, because during that retreat, I had a awakening that's commonly referred to as Satori, and it's referred to as a partial awakening, wherein I realized that there is no past self, that there is no past me. And it's not an intellectual realization. That's the big part of like meditation. If you're just realizing something and going, oh, that's how it works. That's,
Yeah, sure. You could just academically be like, well, yeah, I only exist because of the electrons that are in my brain and like my memories of a self, and like right now I'm just me. But it's more, what would you say, more emotional, more fundamental.
experiential. It's your personal experience of it. It's not just like knowing it. It's not information that you've memorized or that you've learned from someone else or that somebody else has told you. You sit on a mat for 7 days, and sometime, for me, at some point in the middle there, I think around day 4 or 5 or something just broke inside me, and I realized I don't have to be a continuation of the imagination I have of myself. I am not beholden to the image that I believe other people around me have of me based on the things that I've done and the places I've been and the things I've said and the opinions I hold and all that kind of stuff. It can all drop in this very moment, and I can be completely and totally free to be anyone and do anything in this moment. And then I did that. And that's the experiential wisdom of meditation. So when we're
It is
talking about
quite
the idea
incredible.
of time travel and there's no future and there's no, it's all just a perceptual kind of a thing, there's also no past self. It's just kind of what you want to believe because it
It
gives you rigidity in the world. It's an anchor. Uh-oh.
I thought, oh,
Okay, no, you're back. Things
we're
just
good.
froze for a second. We're good.
Oh no, Robot Harv nearly came back.
Yeah, he's
From episode
angry.
1 or 0 or whatever episode it was. Continuation of plot themes. Yeah, the point that there is no past, really. Like, the past only exists in the records we have in our memories and like on the record, physical digital records we've made of what happened back then. In terms of you as a person right now, you literally have the power to be and to act however you like. You don't have to being constrained by your own perception of yourself and your what your character is entirely within your control. It's just a lot of it is about realizing and deciding that it is in your control. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's something that like I feel like I could have gone to a number of seminars, I could have read 1,000 books, I could have thought about it all to death. But at the end of the day, it came down to staring at a wall for probably at that point 30 some hours, and not trying to get anything. When you sit in meditation, you're not trying to attain or achieve, even in Zen and with Buddhists and stuff, there's a undertow and that you're going for awakening. I must recognize the truth of reality and become the Buddha incarnate. I must achieve awakening. And, depending on who you're practicing with, they might say that's true. But if you're trying to awaken, you'll never get there. So quit doing that. Which is an interesting dichotomy there, because if you're attempting to attain something that you don't already have that exists in the future, guess where you'll never get because it doesn't exist. And it's like, boom, mind blown. What are you talking about?
It's just like attempting to get views on YouTube.
What? Huh? Who does
using
that?
YouTube.
It'll never happen.
But this is all well and good. But how does this tie into marijuana?
Marijuana. Do we have marijuana above your head somewhere? Where's the? Hang on.
Somewhere up there.
Well, this ties into marijuana a little bit in that whenever I smoke a dope, which first I should say that I was never a big smoker. I was never, I was always the guy who just like at parties and stuff, at a college gathering, that kind of thing. Somebody'd have it, and depending on the night and my mood, I'd either be like, "Nah, I'm cool," or "Yeah, all right." And honestly, never really enjoyed it that much when I was in younger and in my pre-Zen days. Just not a big it was interesting, but the thing that really bothered me about it is that probably because I primarily smoked at like parties and stuff where people just had it and were throwing it around, I would get really focused on, say, the texture of the wall over there. And because I'm seeing all these patterns and all these things in it, and there's just pictures emerging in the texture of it, and it's just like, and I'd just be sitting there just enjoying that, and then some asshole would walk over and like stand in front of me and look down and be like, "You all right?" And that was just like, "Fuck off, you're breaking my high, man. Quit trying to bum my trip, bruh." And I just didn't like that feeling of when people came into the space and tried to, or it just made me feel vulnerable. Like, dude, this is what I'm doing right now.
I think a
you
lot
see
of
me
that
breathing, right?
a lot of that is because of the space that you experienced it in.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely,
So
yeah.
so this is newsflash to any parents that might be watching. I've tried marijuana a few times, as basically every university student does, no matter how much of an angel they are as a child. I smoked it a couple of times to begin with, but for me, it was only ever after already being drunk. And so, yeah, I never really felt any of the high, whoa, it's weed, whoa, trippy. Never experienced any of that because I was just so drunk and I barely smoked any large amount of it either. So for me, I just don't like smoking really. I've never been a fan of taking stuff into your lungs in that way, and all of the kind of beginners. Oh, I'm fine, dude. I'm cool. That goes on.
I'm pretty sure most doctors think that it's a really good idea to use your physical tissue as a filter for carbon.
Oh yeah,
I think
totally.
that's the agreement. Same
I'm
guys
pretty
tell you
sure
that
that it cures cancer.
greenhouse gases don't work at all. That nothing's happening there. It's just like it's a bunch of conspiracy, man. Smoke them up, and by the way, just hairspray. It helps.
Yeah, that too. It all helps. Get your old fridges out. So when I first actually tried marijuana and enjoyed it was having some brownies, if you know what I'm saying. Some eds.
Yeah.
A few of those eds, which was also the first time that I ever baked brownies, like actually just chocolate brownies.
Hey.
So that was nice. It was really
Learned a
good.
skill.
I was in the flat with my friends, and we just made some dope ass triple, quadruple chocolate chip brownies that just tasted really nice. And then we sat on a sofa for about 7 hours, and it was amazing. It was really, really good. And in that experience, not that I'm not a massive I've not really tried it since. Kind of.
Wait
at
a
that
second.
time,
Wait a
which was
second.
Now,
Before you get into the experiential part of it, I'm kind of curious. Like, how did you bake it in there? Like, because you got to have either the butter already made, or did you make butter from it, or did you chemistry this shit? Did you go out in a camper into New Mexico?
So we had a friend who knew a guy who dealt it, and so she got some for us, and we basically chopped it really finely and then tried to get it into as much of
Mortar
a
and
kind of
pestle.
powder as we could. We didn't have a pestle and mortar or anything. And then, yeah, can of butter into the butter. And just try and make some really strong butter to then bake the brownies with.
Not that we're not that I'm like trying to drag out of Harv, like, here's how you make weed brownies. I'm just curious because, I know there's a process involved, and it's like, if you're not a weed guy, and Harv's like, and we made brownies, I'm like, wow, you kind of did go a little bit Walt Good or
Full on into the yeah.
Walter White on it.
It was great, to be honest, but yeah, it was that we had all that kind of first time, like, oh god, how much are we supposed to use, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to explain any further the exact details of how you should do your weed, but it's always the case. The typical case is like, do less than you think. I'm not sure we adhered to that, but it was like, for me, it must have been about perfect, I think. I think any more and I wouldn't have been able to think, and any less and I wouldn't have felt it. And in fact, one of my friends at the time had a bit of a cold and didn't really experience anything. So that's the kind of practical side of the process. The
Experientially,
emotional
though,
side of the
yeah.
process ties in exactly with what you mentioned earlier, which is the time dilation.
Dilation.
And for me, the feeling was of, my God, I am such a genius. I can think so fast. Like, I'm already 3 trains of thought away, and I've changed onto a different station about 5 times. And God, I'm just 25 million chessboard moves ahead of everyone else. And so I'm thinking so fast that I can't hold any one train of thought or any one conversation for any amount of time before already having a tangent on the tangents that I'm already tangenting from the previous conversation. So to my friends, I was just blabbering nonsense. And at one point, I cooked like a stir fry, I think, or something. I did some cooking, and in my mind, I was like, I had 4 arms, and I was cooking all of everything like an octopus really efficiently. And I think it took me about 3 hours to cut some peppers. Yeah. Chop. Wow. God, I'm so good at this. Chop. Yeah. Really fun, really giddy, very floaty, very something like warm inside. If you have some really strong vodka and you feel that kind of inner burn, there was something like that going on, but very pleasant feeling. Yeah, but what about God, fucking Pawn? What's his name again?
You talking about Houston?
Oh, Houston. Yeah, the guy who does the. Have you had any experience with marijuana?
I've danced with Mary Jane occasionally, sure. I'm no square, man.
Okay. So, this is the one day that Houston's actually listening to the show. That's cool.
Well, I prefer shows where the topic is interesting.
Okay, well, what's that supposed to mean exactly?
So Houston, what is your experience with smoking?
I don't always smoke. Sometimes it's vape, sometimes edibles. A water bong is nice, though. The experience changes based on the strain and the method.
Jesus, we finally found a place where he has experience, huh?
But usually, when I'm stoned, I like to immerse myself in some simple, repetitive task. Break down the coffee grinder for a good cleaning. Really get into the shape and texture of the gears.
Well, that's interesting, because the usual perception of doing marijuana, doing weed, is that you just take a million years going through a bag of chips on the sofa. But you clean?
I mean, don't get me wrong, some highs are going to take you so low that melting into a couch is all you're going to want to do, or be able to. But I prefer a nice indica trip with a mild head high that lets me enjoy simple activities. In fact, once I was really floating, a buddy of mine had hooked me up with some serious sticky icky. Hairs all over it, truly choice bud. Anyway, I'm so high, I'm looking down to see the clouds, And I decide to separate all my coffee beans by size.
Okay, that sounds pretty ridiculous. You must have been really, really high.
Sounds ridiculous to a narc, maybe, but the
Hey.
next morning I had 24 jars of beans sorted by size and grower, and I figured, might as well see if there's a difference.
And was there a difference?
Oh, night and day. The smallest beans are harsh and potent. The big ones have a smooth, round taste with a mellow caffeine burn.
That's yeah.
He just goes on, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised, though. I never would have known that the beans are different size and have different flavors and stuff. That's kinda
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the thing. If the narc over there can handle hearing it.
I'm not a narc. I've got a bag of weed and there's a vape pen right here.
The high version of me was willing to slow down and take the time, not only to actually sort all those beans, but to have the idea to sort all those beans, and then to enjoy and appreciate the process while I did it. I mean, I've paid entry to theme parks that weren't as entertaining as the night I spent sitting at my dinner table with a magnifying glass, a set of calipers, and a bag full of Java, sorting beans into jars one by one, smelling the rich, earthy smell, feeling the cracks, dimples, and subtle imperfections of the little brown pods rolling between my fingers, the thin layer of oil on each, and the cold, dry sensation of plunging my whole forearm into the bag.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot. Yeah, that is a... Houston, are you high right now?
No.
I can see the smoke.
It's leaking out of the. God, this is incredibly unprofessional. Why did you hire him?
I thought you hired him.
No, I thought you hired him.
Well, Jesus Christ, let's get the hell out of here before somebody notices that we've been doing this thing. We got a segment to roll, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a good thing that we didn't, bother to fit any fire extinguishers in this, or smoke detectors, even for that matter. Yeah. We do have a segment to roll. I guess we could go straight to that.
Yeah, the
Which one is it
continuing
gonna be?
adventures of Daryl.
The continuing adventures of Daryl. Oh my God, Born. They're still going. I thought everyone was tired of those by now.
Probably, but we're still doing them. So last we left Daryl, what was the deal? What, he had escaped?
What's the deal with
Yeah.
Daryl? He just willingly went back into prison, right? He had a nice chat with. He announced to the town of Aladel that I'm a witch, and everyone really loved that. And he demanded that the king had to be the one to kill him. Something about that. And so while they wait for the king's word, he's just kind of gone back inside, I think.
So Daryl in the prison cell.
The devil or demon or whatever spiritual being has inhabited you speaks to you again. Come on, we have to go. We have to meet the king. He's not happy.
Well, I want to speak back to the demon in my head and say, listen, right? Just like give it a couple hours, right? The crowd's gonna like push off, right? Hey, and then, right? I can get one of these guys to sort of just slip me out in the night. Yeah, we can do that.
He doesn't reply, but he doesn't object. And a few hours pass. Assuming that's what you actually want to do. Do you want to wait for
Yeah.
that? Okay. A few hours pass. Night falls over the small, quiet town of Aladel. The people have gone back to their homes. Jim and Bob have shifted out. But no one else was available to shift in. No one wants to be in the cell with the witch. So Dave has just remained there alone. He's sitting at his table, drinking some mug and having thoughts of Miranda, maybe.
So I just need to sort of take his temperature first. Hey, Dave, what the hell happened today, Dave?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I took you outside. I'm fairly sure I remember that. And then I took you back inside. I remember that too. What are we doing in here, Daryl? Why are we... Weren't you supposed to be hanged?
Hanged? You're crazy. Okay, I'm insulting people with this accent. You're crazy, mate. Hanged? No, I just got a little twisted is all. I had some drinks and things. Like usual.
No, I'm sorry, Daryl. You're a decent lad, but I'm fairly sure you burned a man to death.
Burned a man to death?
Yeah.
What then? How would I have done such a thing?
Well, that's a bit beyond me, mate, but the crowd did seem to be chanting witch as I took you back inside, although I don't quite know why.
Witch. Witch. Everybody thinks everyone's a witch these days.
Yeah, I don't buy it, mate. I don't think you're a witch. If you were a witch, why would you spend your life spreading shit?
Right, there's that. Why would I be sitting in this jail cell if I was a witch?
Yeah.
Certainly cast some kind of spell and just open the doors or something.
Yeah, I don't buy it one bit, mate. But you were on top of Adrian when he, died. And no one else was anywhere near him.
Well, I mean, what the hell? We were having a fight, sure, I'll admit to that. We were having a fight, we were having a row. But how does a man burn from being punched and stuff? Plus, he was winning the fight. I mean, you ask anyone there, I was getting my ass kicked as usual.
Well, you were on top of him, Daryl. But I do agree with your main sentiment. I don't really see how...
Listen, this is stupid, mate. Will you come in the room and have a conversation with me?
I forgot you're still calling from the corridor. He's like, oh yeah, sorry. He gets up and he kind of wanders over. He's swaying slightly. The beer may have got to his head a little bit, but he's otherwise quite composed. And he kind of rests one arm on the bars of the cell. So, see here, Daryl. This is the theory I've got, right? If you've been spreading shit all your life, then there's going to be an amount of people in this town who have been eating some pretty nasty stuff. And whether there's a witch in the town or not, what do you imagine the effect of witches' shit is on a crop?
Dave, that actually makes a fair bit of sense. You know, mate, and I reach my hand out onto his.
Ooh, the energy crackles.
And then I kind of got him, don't I? I already got him. I don't gotta keep up this bullshit.
You've got him. You can imbue him.
I'm gonna imbue the shit out of him. I'm gonna imbue him all night long. He's gonna be walking funny from how hard I imbue him.
You're gonna go inside him, and then back out.
And then back in again. And then back out again. And basically repeating this process.
So, what is his story now? And
the king...
Take a second, because so far you've tried out 1/10, and they've been able to do very simple things with very little cognitive ability. You've tried 3/10, and you almost managed to persuade them to not kill you. So what kind of power could you get going over that?
Yeah, and it does seem to return to me after a bit of time, doesn't it? I wonder if proximity has anything to do. Don't worry about it, Pawn. Okay, so I've got Dave here. He's the only guard on hand. I'm locked up. I need to not be locked up. I also need to kind of disappear from town. Or, get out of the place. I mean, I do want to go see the king, though, is the thing. So it's just like, I mean, if the messenger from the king comes back and it's a good thing, then there. I feel like my best bet is I want to, get out of this jail cell and go to the king, right? So if he sent the messenger away, I want to have passed the messenger on the street, and I'm going into the king, and then, the king already has some context for this, and I can just, bullshit my way in and be like, well, they sent me here, I don't know. And then I'm in the chamber with the king.
Yeah.
So I need to get out of this place and just go to the king. And here's Dave. There's Dave, and there's me, and man, I wonder how long I can hold on to a Dave, Could he help me out of town?
Well,
that's what I want to do.
You've just got to invent a good enough story.
I want to shove in, I want to hang on to just a scrap of power in case I need to, manipulate somebody else, but I'm going to go fucking 8/10 in here. I am going in hard.
8/10. Holy cow.
Into Dave.
Alrighty.
And I just want to take him, and I just want to tell him, Dave, the king wants to see me He wants to see me. You are going to do very well as a little guard in Aladel if you are the man who delivers me to the king. And we need to get on a horse. And we need to go now.
The energy flows through you, and it feels like your chest is ripping itself out as 8 tenths pour down your arm, out of your hand, into his arm, and he jolts, but he goes flying across the room and slams against the opposite wall, and kind of slumps down slowly. And your words reverberate in his mind as he gets back up. And the shards and the embers of sparks have gone everywhere. And maybe one of them kind of goes onto your rags or whatever you're wearing a little bit. You just gotta pat that to put it out a little bit. And as Dave gets back up, his eyes are crystal clear. Okay, Daryl. Right, we're gonna get you to the king. Try anything to drink before we set off?
Fucking A, mate. Yeah. What do you got?
Well, I got the rest of my beer. You can have that if you like. I think there's a couple more in the room next door.
Dave, I'm not going to drink after you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to imply that you should share a mug with me. I was just saying I could have poured it into a different mug, you know?
Yeah, you do that.
Yeah, he pours the rest of his beer into a different mug for you. There you go, mate. Alright, the king wants to see you. Now, I'm not entirely sure why the king would want to see you, but I figure it must be pretty important, so we better get you there quickly. Are you ready to leave?
Are those coins still on the desk?
No, you took them earlier. I think you swiped them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm going to take the cards, too. Fuck them.
Sure.
Fuck these guys.
You got about half a deck of cards. You're not sure where the other half is, but presumably over time they've just kind of been lost.
All right, yeah, let's get on this horse and let's ride her till she's wet.
Oh, about that, I don't actually own a horse, but I'm sure we can requisition one from the mayor.
Oh.
I mean, the king does want to see you after all. It's a pretty intense thing. Wouldn't want to turn up having walked for miles.
Dave, though, God, it's so late, innit, to be waking up the mayor for an horse.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I'll tell you what, though, right? He's got horses, yeah? I mean, we both know that he wants me to go to the king. I mean, it's going to reflect well on you. It's going to reflect well on the mayor as well. Like, we could just,
I mean,
take it.
My mum did always tell me, Dave, you gotta be a little more independent. So yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, alright, Daryl. Let's get a horse. And he takes you outside, and the two of you kind of briskly walk, maybe jog, depends how quickly you want to go about this. Head off in the direction of the mayor's stables.
Ladies and gentlemen, the adventures of Daryl, which I posit to you that if Harv hadn't have been really high during that, he couldn't have possibly come up with all of that stuff.
That's true. And you know what I just noticed?
What's that?
This doesn't quite work with the green screen.
What? Oh.
I'm so high that I'm
your
phasing
shirt.
out of this dimension.
You switched out of the
God.
Ronin Pawn shirt. Well then, according to Twitch's policies, it would be entirely appropriate for you to give us a little nipple right now.
I think not. How dare you, sir? I have standards.
That's good. I like that. He's phasing in and out of existence. Hey, are you time traveling while we're talking about time travel and marijuana?
No, I'm just
meditation?
so high that I'm astral projecting to a higher plane of existence. Yeah.
If we do this
And,
every
my
week,
body's
then I
feeling the
can
effects.
make it so that there's like a Star Wars type projector behind you, and we'll just say that's the thing.
Yeah. Try and get me on the blue kind of color tint and have you know how in Star Wars it's super advanced, they have all this super advanced technology, but their holograms are shit. The quality is just awful. They're constantly jittering. God, what is going on with the network connection in the far future in a galaxy far, far away? Sorry, no, it's distant past. God, of course.
And have they
Distant
improved
past.
that at all, like, during this? Because I haven't followed the sequels very closely, and I honestly didn't pay that much attention to any of them. But that's a really good point. Like, if they should have improved that by now. You know, it shouldn't be flickery. But, you know,
Well,
it's a
no, it
good
depends, because in the
visual effect.
chronology of the timeline, it's only... Yeah, that's true, it is later. I think there was a scene where one of the big bad Sith, whatever the new guy is, think he appeared as though he was actually in the room and he was just a hologram at one point. Like, it was really good. So, I don't know. Yeah.
So it's actually just the difference between consumer and professional grade gear.
The Empire is restricting all of the bandwidth to the rebels. Yeah. That is a kind of thing the Empire would do. You know, not let them watch Netflix. God. Inhumane.
R2D2's just got some shit that some guy tacked onto him, you know, after... It's aftermarket stuff. It's not wired up appropriately, that kind of a thing. That would fit.
Hologram says that in the new movies it's only like 15 to 20 years after the end. But look at how much our network speed has improved over the past 15 to 20 years. You know?
That can't be right. Then Kylo Ren would only be, like, maximum 20 years old. Which, I mean, he looks very
Yeah,
young.
I
could
think
get
he
that,
is.
but-
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah?
he's supposed to be.
I mean, they're both very young, but... God. Yeah, I guess so. It's just weird to imagine, you know, these Mary Sue characters... to imagine these Jedi, you know, masters as just, you know, I'm 20-something. I can lift things with my mind. Hi. Like this, you get why Anakin had to go ahead and just murder all those younglings. Really, if you think about it, like this is just a bad idea. You're training these kids from day one to be able to do this shit. Jesus Christ. You know,
God, it's a time bomb waiting to happen.
yeah.
Kidder Bob in the chat says that sending signal over a massive distance, lower quality for long distance, it's like megabytes and bitrate. I don't buy that because they've got faster than light hyperspace jump drive travel thing. If they can send entire ships that fast, they can send entire like data streams.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know?
Yeah, that's a bunch of bullshit. Nah.
Yeah,
It's a
God.
good visual effect, and it's part of the Star Wars universe. Keeping it.
It would be less interesting cinematically if they looked like they were just there, because it would be confusing for the audience. Wait, but I thought, wasn't he on a different planet? What's going on here? So they have to be like, all the time. So, yeah.
It's the, having a really good hologram is just the way of, like, painting yourself out of a corner, like when you're writing a soap opera and somebody gets amnesia or something like that. Oh, that's why I didn't know the whole time I was on Tatooine. Of course. But okay, to bring us back to today's topic, which is kind of a
Yes.
mixture. I mean, the whole time travel thing was just kind of a way of talking about the experience and the effect that that both Harv and I have shared when we have partaken of the Mary Jane. Reefer. There's another good one. Reefer.
There's another one for you.
Yeah. But you know, the time travel thing, I mean, it's relevant because I also want to talk to you about meditation. And I'm curious, Harv, if you've ever had any experience with any kind of meditation, formal or otherwise.
Yeah, I have. Mindfulness. Mindfulness. So, funny story. As tends to happen in universities, basically scientists prey on students for test subjects. And so someone's PhD or someone's dissertation or something was to look into the effects of mindfulness and whether it improves your long-term happiness or something to that effect. So pretty much on a whim, because they were paying for participants to do the study, I had one weekly guided meditation session. So once a week for, I think, 3 or 4 weeks. And it was basically just they got in this woman this was her profession, that she would go and do kind of guided meditations and teach you about trying to be more aware, more in the present, and take the time sometimes, like, the example she used was, while you're doing the dishes, normally a chore, something no one really wants to have to do. If you don't have a dishwasher, you're there scrubbing dishes. But next time you have to do the dishes, just take the time to really appreciate like the feeling and the sensation, and just tune out all life's worries and just focus on the present, the here and the now, and try and appreciate the detail in all of the pots that you're, and so on and so forth.
Of the dishes.
Yeah, exactly. So taking mundane stuff, taking situations where we're normally completely absent from the present, and normally just letting our minds wander and think about, oh God, I've got so much work to do for tomorrow, or oh, why did that person say that to me today? And just focusing, it's completely trying to clear the mind and focus on those details and very much in the present. So she would talk for half of the session about stuff like that, and then the other half of the session would be like a 5
Guided
to 10
meditation?
minute guided meditation, exactly. Which I remember being very, very much a set progression. It was pretty much the same kind of formula each time. It would start with, okay, so if you feel comfortable, close your eyes and make sure that you're sitting in your chair and you're not leaning, resting back too much on the back of the seat, just supporting yourself, maybe hands on your lap or on the table, or feet on the floor. And then it would be focus on the breathing. And once she kind of felt like everyone was focusing on the breathing, it would be, and now let your mind turn outwards and just become aware of the sounds and the environments around you, just in your immediate environment. And that was maybe before or after she would also say, notice how it feels having. Oh, I thought I was doing a good job of getting you into meditation with that. Notice how it feels having your hands touch the table and your feet feel really just focus on the weight of your feet on the floor. And then into expanding your awareness of your body in space, and then your body in the room, and then your body in the country, and kind of your body in the universe, and that kind of. And eventually, when she felt like everyone was relaxed enough, it would really kind of hit the core point, I feel, which is that you get to that state of kind of almost being half asleep sometimes, but just cognizant and trying to be really relaxed and aware, just letting your kind of thoughts be there. And then to take note of your thoughts as they enter your mind. And just if you catch yourself thinking about something, just acknowledge that that's a thing you're thinking about, and just put it to the side and try to just not even really think at all. And every time, because it's impossible, this, but people watching there's a good chance you've just never tried it. Trying to think about nothing is insanely difficult, and you'll just realize that for the past 10 minutes, you've been thinking about something. It'll just dawn on you like, oh, fuck, I was thinking about doing the dishes. And then you really, okay, just take that idea and put it aside. And, it's very much acknowledge and move on every time that kind of pops up.
Yeah,
Like
I've had
training a muscle.
hour-long meditation sessions where about 35 minutes in, I realized that I had been sitting there watching The Matrix, just replaying it in my head.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was I feel like the really most important part of the guided meditation was that the whole guided stuff was to get us into the state where we might have a chance of being able to do that. And that the larger kind of message that I left those sessions with was that being able to be disembodied in both like a literal and a metaphorical sense is very, very kind of good for you in many ways. Like being able to disassociate your mind from your thoughts and emotions, and realizing there is a divide between the two of them. Because it's such a powerful tool when you think about it. If you can do that, it might have connotations of, oh, he's so distant, he's not in the moment, he's not living properly. But in this sense, it's more that the kind of daily stresses which wear you down and make you feel under the weather. It's having the ability to say, that's not me. Like the things I experience do not define who I am. And it's being able to say, I can choose to say, to acknowledge kind of these thoughts and experiences I'm feeling, and to put them aside at will and just, be me and exist without being weighed down by them. Because it's all just in your head at the end of the day. So it kind of goes back to what we mentioned at the start about realizing you're in control of your perception of yourself beyond just your past now and into your present.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what I took from it.
Mindfulness is a major practice in all meditations. In all meditations. At the Zen Center, if we weren't sitting on the meditation mat, then it was, you're working in meditation is what they'd say, because the idea of focus on the dishes and have that experience with the dishes. That was my job at the Zen Center for like the first 6 to 8 months, because we had a commercial kitchen in the basement, and so that was basically what I did. And holy shit, you sit on a meditation mat like 4 or 5 hours every single day, and then are supposed to be meditating while you're doing the dishes. You are gonna find shit in the dishes that blows your goddamn mind. You are going to see colors in the soap bubbles that you did not recognize were colors.
Pearlescence kind of.
Little bit of exaggeration, but well, not really, but a little bit of more objectification of a more spiritual kind of experience. But yeah, absolutely. And I suppose this should bring us to our main segment for the live stream, which is the reason why this became a topic for today's show is because after last week's show, I got off, and sometimes after talking almost ad nauseum for 2 hours, what I really want to do is just have a good talk with someone. So I started calling around friends and stuff, and I couldn't get through to any of my friends. Nobody was picking up, and I just sort of like sat there and, not seriously, joking with myself, oh, you don't have any friends to talk to. And then I went, you should go make some new friends at a bar. And so I did. Or so I set out to do, because once I had landed at the bar, I basically spoke to an individual. The bar shall remain nameless. The individual shall not be mentioned. But I spoke to an individual for about 3-4 minutes, and then they started walking toward like the outside and pulled out a pipe and just sort of nodded like, mm-hmm. And I was like, and so like, and I was like, so I followed them outside, and we, and it was the first time that I had smoked, because, and maybe we'll get into this after the segment, but when I use marijuana in the present tense, it is with this device, which is a vape. It's a vape, and you can take off the top, if you can get it off. Yeah, that's some in there that I left in. It's right in the top there. So that needs to be cashed out, because it's probably been there for months. Because I don't actually use it. I'm not a big fan, but occasionally it can be very fun, especially under the right circumstances. So this was the first time that I've actually smoked, like, burned leaf, in a pipe or that in kush. Anything. Yeah, for a long time. So my first drag was like a... it was a huge coughing fit. And from experience, I can at least share this one bit of wisdom. If you don't think that anything I say about the nature of reality or Zen or the passage of time is of interest to you today, I can tell you this, and this is a piece of wisdom you should carry with you. If you smoke weed with someone and you inhale and then start coughing, that's probably all of the weed you're going to need for the night, because it hits you really hard. If you cough that first hit.
Do you know the reason why?
No, actually.
So, in a lot of cases, I think I was told this when I first, no, maybe the second time that I tried it. The first time I ever tried it from a bong, that was it. I was told by the guy whose bong it was that you're actually inhaling a bit of the weed. Like, that's what's really making you cough, is that it's not just the smoke itself, but it's also like, if you, oh, this might not be the coughing, it's probably, this was definitely the case for hiccuping. You find yourself
Okay.
hiccuping afterwards. That's because you've like swallowed some of the weed.
Your
I don't
lungs
know,
are
yeah,
like,
maybe
I've
maybe
got
not the case for
shreds of
coughing,
leaf inside of me.
but yeah, which is like just, it's like you're getting that body high as well as the head high, I guess.
Hey!
Yeah.
But yeah, so this guy shared his bowl with me. I coughed the first one, and then honestly, I took a second hit just to sort of prove to the dude, I know how to smoke weed. You know, if you know, on the first one, you kind of just gotta like, all right, hang on, let
Got
me
a
try that
safe
again.
thing. Yeah.
You just want to hold it in. Just hold it in for a little bit until you get really
Until your
uncomfortable.
vision begins to vibrate.
But yeah, so he shared some with me, and I went to that bar. I was there for 5 minutes, if that. Ordered one beer. Dude gave me some weed, and that was the last beer I drank because I spent the next half an hour, maybe, I don't know, trying to measure time. You'll see why in a moment. Was rather difficult because I ended up just standing outside. As this bar had an outside part to it, nobody else was outside, and I pulled out my cell phone and just turned on the old tape recorder because I needed to leave myself a message because I was having, you know, very important realizations while I was stoned. So I knew that my, you know, later self, this future self that doesn't exist yet, wouldn't remember all of that. So I need to tell him. I do not know the full content of what I said in the video that we are about to watch.
Let's make that clear.
Yeah, very specifically, when I told him that I had a recording of myself, I hadn't listened to myself stoned, leaving a message for me in the future, he said, "Don't listen to it." I said, "But I gotta edit it
can't.
somehow." And he said, "Well, edit it somehow." So I have basically listened to the first 45 seconds of this to try and get the EQ and compression right. But we are about to, all of us, share the experience of meeting an individual who no longer exists, which is me, high, at a bar last Wednesday, leaving a message to myself. I hope you enjoy. You are exceedingly high right now. But you should goddamn well remember, the ultimate comedy is Zen. You know, because it's like when you're in between the frames, everything is a fucking joke. You know, that old rhyme. No. Just stay here. Fuck them. Fuck all of them. They want you to come back to their time zone. Fuck them. You're EDT for life, motherfucker. No, don't pull me back. Just imagining you listening to me later. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, the things I should tell you. Okay, so, at Trixie's, there's a green neon light on a wall and it reflects in. You don't notice it when you're inside, but it's there when you're outside and you're looking in because of the yellow light from outside. So, like, you know, where does that green light come from? You should have noticed that. So look for the green light. Not tonight, because you won't remember. I mean, I won't remember. But I'm you. See, I told you Zen was the joke. I'm you. I'm not you.
literally standing here speaking to my future self, my fucking time traveler self. And now I'm looking around because it's like, shit, does anybody see me here or hear me here? Which means somebody did, because otherwise my senses wouldn't have been perked, because I am a keen psychic animal. Oh, fuck, I just keep imagining you listening to this. You're gonna fucking love this. I'm laughing for you right now, you fucking idiot. Oh, shit. By the way, good luck with all that shit, huh? You know that shit that's happened since now and when you are. Oh, just... Shit. I just had the idea of posting this on, like, YouTube or Harv and Pawn on twitch.tv/Harv and Pawn every 9 p.m. in the UK, 4 p.m. in the Eastern Time Zone. Oh my god. Zen is the ultimate comedy. When you are between the frames, everything is fucking hilarious. You know what's awesome? I'm pretty sure you won't remember me. So I'm just waiting for when you play back my recording 21.wave. Because I'm thinking you might not remember me. So I'm literally sending a message to my future self that isn't my future self, because I ain't you and you ain't me, motherfucker. You better get that through your head. I am me. And I'm already dead, like 1 billion times over, from when I said I am me. And I know you know that, because I know that. And you know what? I won't even say that you don't really behave like you do, because that's bullshit. You do. You know that. We know that. So why is there still something wrong? Let's get serious. I realize I'm writing a fucking script. Let's get serious. Why so serious? What were we gonna get serious about? I should ask the guy who let me smoke this stuff if it's salvia, just so that I could title the YouTube video, "Listen to this fucker on salvia." It's probably just weed. In fact, I'm quite curious to find out how it is that you, or rather, I, by which I mean you, because I, not you, we covered that earlier. You can read back the notes. How you will, I forgot what I was saying. how you, I remember now, how you will perceive time when you hear this back. I mean, I have no idea. Oh, it's 7 minutes and 25 seconds long at this point. Okay, I can see that number now. I if I had to estimate the amount of time that has passed since we began this conversation, you and I don't know, like, okay, by now, because I've been talking some more, 1:48, I would have guessed. Okay, no, we're on to minute 8 now. Congratulations. Wait a second. Okay, Google. What's the best length for YouTube video? Cause I'll just keep talking. Well, really fucking high. Until we hit, like, what is it? Is it 18.275? I could go to 18.275, Google, YouTube. I could do that. I got a timer here, and more so, I'm between the fucking frames. So, like, I've got, what do you got, like 60? 120 frames per second? I'm a fucking god level speedrunner, yo. I got thousands of frames per second. Eat my fucking ass. Okay. I'm probably, alright. I think actually the optimum time for YouTube video is probably around 10 minutes. I mean, I don't want you to believe that, right? Because, like, now they're paying you based on watch time. And watch time is, that's your time spent watching. So, it's like YouTube and the watch time, Oh, fuck. I need some peanut butter and jelly. Pawn. Out. Okay, don't. Alright, that would have been ungenuine. I was gonna end the video there. But I realized I was, that whole pawn out shit. I'm not gonna end the video. I'm leaving. Pawn out. It's disingenuous, What I should say is, hey, does anyone want to have sex with me? And then just the video ends. Or maybe, hey, could you pay attention to me because I am desperate for your affection, even though I don't know you? Okay, that was maybe a little bit personal. That's all right. See, consummate professional comedian, always on. 11 minutes into the top sensation on fucking YouTube, and here I am. Oh, I'm pushing the limit now. I am. Holy shit. Oh, that's just a plane. I thought it was an asteroid. My perception of time is different than yours. I presume when you listen back to this, it'll be at some kind of Alvin and the Chipmunk speed, and you won't be able to really tell what I'm saying because, Jesus Christ, time is just whipping by for you, right? For me, no one is even questioning the fact that I've been out on the patio for, 12 minutes, drinking this beer and talking into my cell phone the whole time. Jesus Christ, you can't stop being on, can you? No, I can't. Do you have a fucking problem with that? Actually, I'm cool with it. Alright. Well, then let's go back to my place and fuck. Jesus, God. I really don't turn off. And I fucking love it.
Okay. So that was a thing. I may have started crying from laughter at certain points there. I definitely did not remember all of that. I'll tell you that much.
That was such. I'm so glad I stopped you from listening back to it, because I got to be here with porn, listening to past porn tell future porn. Like, man, that was great. And hearing you react, I have so many questions. Okay.
Yeah, there's certain
I'm gonna
points
shoot
in
the
there where I
questions.
like realize shit, and I'm like, oh, I remember what I was thinking then. I was laughing at the thought that I didn't express. And...
Yeah. So.
Wait a second, you've got a bunch of questions. Maybe the people in chat have a bunch of questions, and maybe everybody needs a
fine.
chance to pee. Huh?
Yes.
Stay tuned and leave your questions in chat and your comments and all that sort of a thing. And we'll be back after this 5-minute break. I know how to pitch to it. I'm always on. That's the thing. He's just always on. Pawn, not out.
Please listen carefully.
we're back. We hope that you had a lovely pee. Or, whatever else you had to evacuate out of your system. Physically
We don't
speaking.
judge. No. My God, Porn. I have so many questions.
Ooh, all right. Well, I love to
Okay.
hear myself talk, so...
So we've learned.
Yeah.
So we've learned. Okay. So, for those of you going back or just joining us now, we have just experienced, alongside Porn, hearing himself high for a good 10 to 12 minutes.
12 minutes, 12 and some, yeah. Oh, you've frozen,
My first
and you're
question is-
back. Go ahead.
Oh, good. I'm just so excited. My first question is, how much of that did you remember before listening back to it just now?
If I had to estimate, what I had awareness of was broad concepts. So if I just say broad concepts, 1/5 of just sort of the concepts and where those probably led, kind of thing.
Yeah, so definitely no specific points that you made to yourself or specific wordings or anything like that.
I at least remembered that I had that thought about that this would make a good YouTube video and I should bring it to Harv and Pawn, but I didn't remember how I did it, and I had no idea that I kept coming back to it as a comedy routine at the end. And
Oh man, I wasn't expecting that. That was so great to hear. It was such a meta moment when we're listening to you live on Harv and Pawn. And we know that, oh man, and you just there saying hey, I should put this on Harv and Pawn.
And I gotta say, I did not remember that was a specific thing. I actually did the whole Harv and Pawn at 9 p.m. UK, 4 p.m. everywhere. I actually did the pitch. I did not remember I did the
yeah.
pitch. I wouldn't have thought
Got it
myself
perfect
capable
as
of doing
well.
the pitch, but there I was.
So another specific question. You even high, you did a really great argument format where you started with one main point and then you went off and then you came back and reiterated the point. It was really strong. I just have no clue what you meant. What did you mean by in between the frames?
That was that was just sort of my code, my internal code for describing that space between time. That
Right.
what I was experiencing was, in fact, I can give you a very detailed description because this part I do recall, was at a certain moment during that, I had a strong visualization. I didn't see anything, it's not LSD, kids, it's weed. But, I had a strong visualization in my mind of myself, of the idea of self, of identity, as being these upside down G's, these very right angled but with smooth curves at the edges, curling in on themselves, little things, and that each curl was a micro thought, and that I was perceiving time and myself in the micro thoughts, in the space between the usual frames. And so I'm getting to experience this micro thought and then the next micro thought, and I have time enough to really envelop, really address and smell and taste each single little micro thought. And then from the micro thoughts emerges a mini thought. So the mini thought being part of the micro thoughts, it's made of the smaller ones, so it makes a little g of the micro thoughts, and then you got a mini thought, and then you've got various stages, but then you've got an actual thought. And then ultimately you have a train of thought, and it's all this, micro to mini to a larger scale to a larger scale.
Macro, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's the idea is that when you're not in the space between the frames, when you're perceiving reality the way that I am now, and that probably you are, but I don't know, your experience, your thoughts, your ideas, your opinions, all of those are happening at this very tiny minor level that you don't actually experience as thought. And that they...
You just perceive the macro results of those microstructures.
Yeah, they culminate, they build up, and so, like, and part of those, like, thoughts, when I'm saying thoughts, I'm also including experience. When you're in between the frames, those little micro thoughts also include just feeling like the wind against your forearm, just feeling like the little things that you usually gloss right over, but they're there because you're in the space between the frames, because you get the micro thoughts going on. And so what we perceive right now, and the reason why I can continue having this conversation, not forget what we were talking about when I started talking about it, like I did several times in that recording.
Let's get serious.
Is because I'm operating on the macro thoughts, and I'm not getting lost in the micro thoughts. I don't have the time to focus on those micro thoughts because I'm not in between the frames.
It's quite okay. So there's kind of one overriding like feeling that gave me at certain parts, which was man, this drug, it really is like a portal for so many people into that micro thoughts, let's call it realm between the frames. Because a lot of like weed stories are like this, where it's like, man, I was so high, I could just like see outside of my own body, and that kind of thing. Which incidentally, it's a portal for many people to kind of get there without maybe following the other most common route, which is meditation to get there, right? And I feel like this is where it kind of ties the two topics together, getting into that, really being in the present and perceiving exactly what's going on. But we can delve into that. But my overriding thought was like, man, it's just such a shame that it also induces all this hilarity and like giggling and lack of train of thought, and why you have to sacrifice the macro to get to the micro and to really focus there. And man, I just want to say how funny it was when like you really kind of settled onto this point and you kind of sobered up for a moment and were like, all right, you, me, you in the future, it's time to get serious. And then pause. Fuck, what was I going to get serious about?
I kind of remember what was like going through my head at that moment too, was that like, one, I realized as I was doing it, because I'm, in between these micro thoughts, I realized that I'm like setting myself up for like a skit. I'm in the middle of this thing, and like, so I'm setting myself up for the skit where it's like, I know that I've been laughing and chuckling and all that kind of stuff, and now I've conceived of the idea of sharing this with other people, and then it's like, okay, this would be a really good time if I were writing a script for the character to suddenly like pull it together and be like, all right, motherfucker, now I need to say something serious to you.
Oh, so it really wasn't that you had something serious to say. It was that you were playing along with that character.
I mean,
that you'd already imagined yourself being.
I'm a different self at this point, but I kind of feel like once I got there and I was like, I got to the point where it was like, now, let's get serious about this because there's some real shit we need to talk about. I looked, and there was precisely no real shit that we had to talk about. And I was like, I don't know. What was I talking about, man? I don't fucking know.
And that's like, in many ways, sure, it's hilarious, but it's also like quite sad, I feel, because in many ways it's such a shame that you're distracted by remembering the YouTube persona and end up kind of tangentially going into that rather than having like a super real conversation with your future self. Because like some of that was really, really good and like quite personally, like you even said it yourself literally at one point. There was that one bit where you got real and you were like saying something around, please give me attention. Mm-hmm. And then you kind of went, oh, too personal, and kind of stopped. Yeah, you could have really like it might have been a real opportunity and a very surreal experience for you to have your past self really try and like pick apart all your flaws and like obsessions with being valued by how others perceive you and that kind of stuff.
You know why I couldn't? Like, I know this from just having listened back to it. The reason I couldn't was because of how I started that. Like, I started out by saying Zen is the ultimate comedy.
Yeah, that was my other question. Can you
Yeah.
elaborate?
And the reason why I couldn't, like, do that, why I couldn't find anything when I reached out for, like, we should be serious right now, is because there is nothing to be serious about. Like, everything that I am, that you are, that we think we are, that we think we're doing, and everything, like, it's happening, it's real, we all have our psychological issues and stuff, but they're also not real. You know, it's an imagination that we have of ourselves, and, like, knowing that in a very visceral sense and not an intellectual sense while I was in between the frames, so to speak, you know, it was just like, whatever it is that you think is the thing that needs addressed, the problem that you have, the problem that, you know, just like, it's there, but it's not, you know, it's an imagination. And so everything just becomes hilarious. And it's, I
You
often
realize just
imagine,
how, like, it's not. You get to that moment where it's like, right, it's time to do some really important, like, character, deep defining stuff, and at the same time, you're in the perfect place to know that your character is it can be whatever you want to be, and it's not chained down by who you have been previously.
yeah,
So,
and also that I'm
such a
choosing, you know, that character in every moment, and that character isn't me. You know, like, I choose to be this. I choose to, you know, be the fucking Ronin pawn, and, you know, have a very verbose and character, and I like it. You know, the reason I do it is because I like it. There's a lot of things that I do. Some of them I don't tell you people about, that I do because I like them. And if I told you about them, you know, I'm
you're
like
not
a
gonna
secret heroin
you're not
user.
gonna tell us now that that's actually like a wig, are you?
No, this is
God,
real.
yeah. I was gonna say.
China produced man. It's very real. Um, but yeah, you know, it's. What were we talking about? Oh, I should have smoked
Sorry,
some.
I totally interrupted you then.
No,
You were basically getting around to the point, which is another thing I wanted to kind of join together with. Uh, like I was saying, that the weed is for many a bit of a portal into that realm that you might otherwise get to pretty much only through meditation. For you, as someone who has meditated a whole lot and got really good at it and had to get really good at it, it must be it's like either you went down to an even deeper plane of self-awareness, or, as I think, maybe not even or, but as well as we heard in the audio, you just kind of already had realized all of the revelations that people might have in that kind of state. you know
I mean, that's at least what I'm telling myself. I know that, like, within that state, that's definitely like an awareness that I had, was like, I'm not gonna find out anything new from here, you know? Like, I've been here, I've done this, I know what this is about, like, and it's just sort of instead of, like, trying to do something while you're there, just fucking enjoying the experience, like
yeah.
washing the dishes, just letting it be exactly what it is, and throwing yourself in and immersing yourself, and instead of being like, it's very easy for me in that kind of situation to, you know, look outward and see the people in the bar at the very beginning of that recording. I looked over and I started talking to myself, you know, about, no, fuck them, fuck all of them. Stay in this, you know, they want you to come to their time zone. You stay in your time zone. You stay in between the frames. It's very easy for me to, like, look out at the external world and try to come to what's going on over there, or change what I'm doing based on what's going on over there. And, like, that is something that I if I'm trying to be in the moment, then the moment is this. The moment is whatever this is. And maybe it includes everything that's going on over there, and maybe it doesn't, you know? For me, in particular, like, when I am high like that, I don't want to have any interactions with anybody, because it's really, really hard for me, like you were saying, to have a
Yeah.
conversation that carries on. And it's also, I feel the pressure to try and, like, tie things together and make something that we started talking about a minute ago come back around a minute later. And I realize in that space in between the frames that that's what we're doing all the time, and it's completely unnecessary. Like, I don't need that. You know, you don't need
You
that.
can-
You don't need it to
yeah.
like have connective tissue that goes all the way through, and it's got an arc and a story and a character, and there's development and growth. That's all a story we're telling ourselves. But the truth is, you know, right there in front of you. Like, the moment is this, whatever this is. And when I'm stoned like that, the moment is being in between the frames and being like really present with this tiny sliver of almost non-time, because it's so small.
Yeah. It's instantaneous, one might say.
Present,
Yeah.
you know, perfectly present. There is no future, there is no past, and that was just, you know, part of the fun. As I'm listening back to that, I'm like remembering some of the things that were right there, that like while I'm talking to myself in the future, I'm realizing that I, the person who I'm talking about as I, who started this sentence, is already dead, is already gone.
Yeah. I liked that part. I liked that bit where you were like, you said, okay, me, and then you kind of went, no, you're not me. I'm already dead a billion times over by the time that you hear this. And yeah, that really does kind of reiterate what we started this entire show with, saying like that, yeah, there is no, you are a temporal being. You only exist at this one instant, and that the rest of it is in your head, man. You're just
Yeah,
making it
each
all
of
up.
those little square-shaped wormy things that I was saying is micro time and everything. Those are actually, you know, it's the micro time of the self. It's the identity. And what you really are is the existing right in this fucking micro time moment, you know? Just right here, right now, this. And then the moment that there's another tick of time, it's a completely different self. It's a completely different you. It's a completely different reality. Everything has changed. Everything has shifted. And it's all colored by what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're experiencing at the moment. But, like, the true you is not the you that you carry around, that you've developed, that, oh, I went to school here and I was the, you know, I had karate class with these people, and I I became a very responsible and mature person, and then I made a bad agreement with this guy that I knew from the KSP Media Group and started out this show, and now I'm stuck here and I can't get out of it. You know, it's not that has a past. It's the you in this very moment that has no past. You are right here, right now, and you can be anything in this moment, and it's not something really that you choose. It's something that simply is. It becomes. It takes shape in reality in this moment. And in order to experience that, you have to let go of your concept of identity, your concept of self, that I am me. Because you're not, you know? I mean, you are for the tiniest fraction of a moment, so, and then the me is gone and you're a new me. And so it's like the concept of me is irrelevant. You don't have a me to carry around, so we get really, you know, this is where you get real deep into the fucking Zen. You start like checking, make sure you got your waders on. If we go any deeper than this, 'cause fucking what? I am not me. I am not myself. I am not my past and my thoughts and my opinions and my history. What else could I possibly be? It's like, well,
So,
have you
okay, I
heard
have
of
an
the
interesting
ego?
way. Yeah, a way I want to take this, rather than retreading a lot of, I think, commonly discussed ground. So, you are literally just existing in this moment. And we've talked about being separate from your thoughts and your experiences, that they do not define you, and like the character you
Imagine
believe
yourself to be.
yourself to be and
Yeah.
imagine yourself to exactly, is different from what you are. So what do you think then about I can't think of a clever way to say this. I'm just going to say what I'm thinking. What do you think about goal setting and about motivations and allocating yourself purpose and having we're talking like you are only existing now instantaneously, but trying to manage goals and work towards milestones over periods of time. So trying to accomplish things. How does that tie into your kind of this philosophy that we've outlined?
Two things in particular, just trying to be concise in particular. So, one, I'm very familiar with at least the New Testament of the Bible, and one of the very important teachings along these lines is the simple statement, which may actually come from the Old Testament, that we should not say we shall come and go and do this and that. We should say, if God will, then I shall live and come and go and do this or that. And that's, very religious and very in the tone of Judaism and Christianity and all that kind of stuff. But there is a, deep, profound truth there that, whatever it is that you're planning, whatever it is that you're desiring as a future is a desire, and from desire emerges pain. Because now you have a way that you want it to be as opposed to a way that it is. So the way that I see it is there's a balance of that. Because even my Zen teacher said, listen, we all have to sit down and pay our bills and make plans for how we're going to pay our bills and, have plans for the future and everything. But, that's a thing that we do because we are what we are in this moment, because we are human beings in this situation, illusory as you may decide it to be through a meditational practice, or you're really focused on the present moment, that kind of a thing. It is still an illusion that you are in, and so we still have to plan for tomorrow, and we still have to make plans, But the problem emerges when we go from planning for tomorrow and having long-term goals to having true full-on fucking desires that this is where I want to be at this point in my life, and that's where I want to be at that point in my life, and
I'm not going to be happy until I get there.
Yeah, and that can only lead to pain. That's only going to lead to pain unless or at least 99.99999% of time, it will lead to some form of pain or stress. Because you have defined what it's supposed to be, and the odds of everything in the universe coalescing to exactly what you want it to be when you want it to be, why would you even do that to yourself in the first place? It's like you're torturing yourself to set up those kinds of expectations.
Yeah. I have an interesting image just kind of popped into my head there, which is, it's like trying to navigate to a very specific spot in a stream. You're caught in the downward rivers of time, and you're trying to get to that stone there. And getting to that specific stone there is very difficult with the rivers of time flowing the way they are. But if you, rather than saying, I need to be there, otherwise I'm not going to be happy, if you instead decide, I should try and get to that bank, then more the direction, steering as opposed to plotting too specific, steering things the way you want them to go.
Yeah.
I just had that image in my mind.
And having an idea of, what you'd like to see happen, and just, going in that direction, and when that stone starts to float past you, from a couple of feet over there, going okay, well, where do I want to go now? Instead of being fuck, I missed the stone, my life is over, he doesn't love me, and we're never going to have kids, and they're going to fire me next week. It's instead you could be you know what, that asshole, he never loved me. I didn't want to have kids with him anyway. I want a new job. You can just choose to perceive it however you want to perceive it. But, when you get those, especially I almost recoil when I hear people talk about life goals. Because I feel like it's important to have... I feel like it's important to know yourself, more than it is to have goals about where you want to be. Because if you're setting goals for where you want to be, then you're not really acknowledging that you're growing. that you're changing. You know, it's nice to have an idea of generally what direction you think you're going in, so long as it's tempered by the awareness that that's today. Tomorrow is tomorrow. And I know a lot of people will say, but if you have that kind of like looseness to it, then you'll never get anywhere because you'll constantly be, you know, retuning your sails to go somewhere else kind of thing. And all I can say is that, yes. I mean, I guess that would be my answer to it. Yes, that's correct.
Well, also, yes, except that, like you're saying about important to know yourself, if you can understand at least broad strokes, like who you feel you are, then you know that I want to go in this direction, and I know that yes, I'm growing and changing as a person, but that direction is not going to drift into the opposite direction, you know. So understanding what is and what isn't going to change about yourself.
Yeah.
This is interesting though. This feels like we've waded into a kind of self-contradiction. We're talking about knowing yourself. Haven't we established that you are not anything and you are just the illusion of thinking you are a self?
Well, shit. Ooh, there's thunder rumbling outside my place just as you said that. Holy shit, because if you want to go down the deep rabbit hole, which we don't have time for today, but when you go down to the deep rabbit hole, you know, as a Zen practitioner, there is the small self, which is the self that we recognize, and then there is the true self. There is the Buddha nature, as Buddhists will call it, but there's the truth. And so, like, getting to know yourself is a process by which you emerge from the illusion of what you think yourself is, at the end of which you realize what yourself truly is, and that it really cannot be defined by the term self. That all of the words and language that we have for describing I and me, and this is one of the reasons that, like, you try and, like, write down and explain Zen and explain Buddhism and explain, you know, just these concepts to people. You know, people have been trying to write this stuff down for 2,600 years to try and make sense of it, and it's like, it's, if you've never seen a plane before, it's going to be really hard. You know, I can tell you about, like, imagine a bird that you can walk inside of that's metal, you know, but it's going to be really hard for you to really know what's being talked about until you have the experience, which is why Zen practice is not about teaching. Zen teachers rarely ever, like, as a last resort, they will start educating their students on, like, concepts, because there is no place for concepts in Zen. Concepts is what we traffic in constantly. You and I is a concept, and our entire language is entirely conceptually based. Everything that we talk about is in reference to me and you, this and there, over here, over that side. Every single thing that we have in this language is built on that, and all of the ways that we interpret it. And the truth, the fundamental truth that Zen is pointing in the direction of, is that that's not it. There is no over here, there is no over there, there is no you and them, there is no this and that, there is no it. It is all one, and you are. And I really like, in particular, like the fact that, like that concept of oneness that exists in Zen. I can go to the Bible, the Christian Bible, and pull out the statement that very early in the writings of the Bible too, and in the Torah, the Old Testament, where Judaism has Moses going to speak to the Pharaoh, and he arrives to the Pharaoh and says something akin to, "I am sent from him who is called I am." And I just fucking love that. You know, imagine, like, the idea of God as I am. And in the old Hebrew text, it is God specifically, like, speaks to Moses and said, when you go there, I want you to say exactly this. You are sent by I am. And I am has a message for you. So imagine God speaking in the, you know, naming himself I am, and what that means about you in reference to God. And it's like,
I like a large part of that because it's kind of
onion layers.
I am strikes at very fundamentally human concepts, to use that word. And like, what is God, depending on any religious inclinations you have, but fundamentally, really, what is God other than like that kind of cornerstone of what it means to be human?
Yeah.
Because how many dogs do you catch thinking, God, I am this or I am that? Like, do they think on that kind of? Who knows?
It's actually, there's something that I put in the notes here because we've both seen it apparently. You saw it a long time ago, and Noah Craw just linked it to me. But
The
Quartz gesagt?
Kurz gesagt.
Kurz
Or maybe
gesagt.
it is Kurz. I don't know. I don't know German.
Hang on. Let me just.
It's all just concepts, man.
Kurz gesagt.
Okay, Kurz.
I had it
Fine.
set
All
up.
right. You had to set me up like that, did you? God.
But the video, The Egg, wherein they took just like a short story that somebody had wrote that was very much inspired by just Eastern philosophy, Eastern
Andy
religion
Weir.
in general. Andy
Andy
Weir.
Weir, same guy who wrote The Martian.
Oh, really? I had
Yeah,
no idea.
really.
I didn't make that
Yeah.
connection. But a very like concise, like honestly, if I've ever heard like a bedtime story version of something that gets you toward something more than bullshit, that's a pretty damn good one. The idea of, you know, you die and then you wake up and God's there and God's like, hey, you died. And then like he explains to you that you are in fact like a child of God, and all of the lives that you're leading on Earth are, you're just sort of inhabiting these lives and going through the motions, and you are, you know, enveloping all of the experiences of everyone who's on the planet, and you're growing. That this is your egg in which you know, become. You grow to the point where you can actually be born. Like you are a god in the process of being born, and everything that you experience on Earth, and you will experience all of the possibilities on Earth and be everyone who's ever been on Earth, and everyone in this little, you know, cosmic universe has been created because this universe is your egg, and you will, you know, experience all of this, and then you will emerge and you will be born as a young, you know, child of a god kind of a thing. And I love this idea because it's such a... It leaves so much room for you to still have, like, identity with self and with ideas about me separate from other things. You know, I'm living all of these lives over and over again, but I am occupying these things, and then when I'm done with this, I will emerge as some, you know, great new being who has all the wisdom of all of the experiences that I could have had, and who's realized that, wow, I spent a lot of time torturing myself, where I was torturing other people who were myself.
Yeah. I love that moral in particular because it's like, wouldn't humanity be so much? Wouldn't humans be so much kinder to themselves and to other people if we really did feel more like we were, like you are I and I am you, and that kind of idea of a collective, like it kind of goes into some very. That idea goes into some interesting ideological kind of places where you're looking at individualism, like the very capitalistic individualist, versus many other, maybe, yeah, I guess socialist, but just like tribal kind of collective mindsets. There's interesting things to explore there. But yeah.
Especially with, you know, like the direct connection for me is immediately love thy neighbor as thyself. And,
classic,
you know, that's just a classic, like, golden piece of wisdom, and it really does get dismissed along with a whole bunch of other things that are sort of categorized as just homespun, like, obviously. But if you really look at it, it's asking you to care for the person across from you as though you were caring for you. to take every effort and every strain and every pain that you would absorb in the process of doing something that you thought was going to be good for you, but for them. And when you take that to the deepest place, like now you've got what Christianity was meant to be and isn't. what
Yeah.
the Rabbi Yeshua, known as Jesus Christe, was actually driving at, that they all kind of miss.
You know, I have there's an inverse to love thy neighbor as you love yourself. That Jordan
Greed
Peterson.
is good.
No, not an inverse in motivation, just an inverse in direction. Jordan is one of Jordan Peterson's 13. Is it 13 or 11 rules for life? Whatever. One of them is care for yourself as if you were someone that you're responsible for taking care of. He says it in a much nicer way. Which is,
I get
it's
the
in the
premise,
completely
though.
opposite direction. So it's not about like, yeah, care for your neighbor as though with every effort and every pain you would take care for yourself, but also take care for yourself to such a degree that you would for your child. And I always think about it as being the parent-child relationship, where something so innate, so evolutionary within us that, there's a very few, you hear about them on the news, but very few people really don't care about their children. And parenting is, I'm told, not easy and takes effort to really just make sure that those fragile little humans survive long enough that they can start taking care of themselves. And realizing that you yourself are also just a fragile little human and taking those same pains to value yourself sufficiently. I really like that.
Yeah,
I
you
like
know
that
what I
message.
like most about it is that sort of the inherent manipulation of your own ego and consciousness that's going
Yeah,
on there
yeah.
implies that it's tapping into the implication that when you are caring for someone else, you really put your effort forward. When you are caring for someone who you truly care for, you really fucking make it happen. We played Minecraft is Too Easy. Not you and I, although we did, but just on my live stream recently. And, I was thinking about that because I realized, those of us who get together on the server will run out and we're it's unstated and it's implicit and it's just there that we're all there's a guild
together.
mentality. Yeah, and so while I was watching back some of what you and I recorded of Might, which will be probably coming to Harv and Pawn eventually, I was just noting that in what I was doing, I could see the moment at which I immediately snapped. I went from I wasn't thinking about it to snapping on to, okay, there's two of us now and we both need things. And so I rush into the world and I immediately start hitting grass in order to get seeds because we need to eat seeds and Minecraft is too easy or else we won't survive. And then I take 2 pieces of grass and in that time I've already thought Harv is right behind me, he needs grass too, and so I immediately dart off to the left in order to make sure that I'm not getting all of the grass. I'm not
you
in
leave
his
space
way.
for me to,
and so you're looking out for the person who's next to you, who's with you, who's beside you, possibly better than you usually would yourself. So I like that. I like that part of that's sort of implicit, that try and manipulate your own ego and self into
Yeah.
behaving such that you would
You're,
take care of
socially
yourself
engineering
as well
yourself.
as you would, another human being who you truly care about and who you feel responsible for and who you feel wow, if I fuck this up, I'll be a real dick. I like that.
Yeah. Well, that's man, that was a lot of good stuff in there. I feel like this among the more introspective streams that we've done so far. We do, I think, have one more segment, right? Maybe? Yes? No?
There could be something about. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh my god, how did I forget? After all this time, after all these years, after all these just so many people waiting, so many so many letters received just demanding. In fact, we'd like to thank you for the thousands who protested and signed the documents on the petition site.
Well, there genuinely have been thousands of comments, like, requesting this. There have been.
Absolutely. We finally did it for you. You know, it took us a while to get around to it, but we've got it there. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I present to you Harv returns to KSP.
We now present that which has been long awaited. Harv returns to KSP. Please enjoy. Porn, I think my mask is leaking. Oh, this doesn't look good.
No, you look great. You look great. You hold that position, because that is just what people are gonna want to see.
You think people want to see
Of
this?
course
Me
they
dying?
want to see this. Are you kidding me, Harvey? Harv returning to KSP. They've been
Oh
waiting
my
years.
god, Porn, I don't have any tape to seal it with. I'm seriously panicking.
There's nothing to be nervous about. Okay? Everyone's gonna love it.
Oh my god.
They love you. Now, what I want you to do is look into the camera and give me a big smile, big teethy grin. There you go. That's
Porn.
kind of faking it there, but
What the hell,
okay,
Porn?
that's
Help
the
me.
best- the best you can.
What? Why aren't you hearing what I'm
sorry,
saying?
Okay? Let's not get into it again. All right, so in 3, 2, 1, and...
Thank you for joining Harv as he returned to KSP.
Welcome back. There it is.
Welcome.
You've been waiting for a long time. He finally did it. Harv returned to KSP. The man, the myth, the
Finally
legend.
went and did it. Yeah. Man.
Although not a man, not a myth, not a legend, because of course the self is an imagination of the...
Naturally. And we got some pretty good comments from you guys during the stream. Not to kick off onto a whole nother kind of talk about what we've been deliberating over for the past 2 hours. But I particularly liked one from Tedfordshire, or Tedfordshire. This goes back to the Worcestershire discussion we had previously. Tedfordshire says, "You are more similar to other people living today." In fact, he says it right here, actually, on the wide. More similar to other people living today than you are to your past or future self. I would say, yeah, maybe. In some senses of the word. But maybe not in reality. I don't know. Depends on how past or future you're looking.
There is no past or future self. There is only this one.
There is only present, etc., etc., etc.
But yeah, no, I've been... I just want to say that I feel like... and Jorgi, I see you there, and Rex, thanks for turning out for this, and I know that you, came and went, and then, I've been watching chat, I've been reading chat, you guys have been making me laugh, when I got to read it back during the segments and everything, and I'm sorry that we didn't interact as much, but, when you're talking about the nature of existence and the illusion of reality and stuff, you kind of get sidetracked. But you have all made me laugh and smile at some point throughout this live stream, so
Yeah.
thank you very much for that.
Yeah, thank you to everyone who sticks around with us. And because these streams are for us primarily, we just want to have a reason to film ourselves talking. So we appreciate you engaging with that and being around to discuss these topics with us.
Yeah, and if you want to support more than just giving us laughs and smiles, although that is basically the most you could possibly give, but if you want to throw a little something on top that Jesus would say doesn't matter, you can support us via Patreon and support the show and keep the show running at patreon.com/harvinpawn, or you can give us one-time donation over PayPal at paypal.me/harvinpawn, and that money will literally just pay us a little bit to keep doing what we're doing every week, which involves a lot of work. But I don't want to harp on that. Just, whatever it takes to make you feel guilty, just pretend like I said that, and then go
Now,
give
of
us
course-
money.
Of course, one-time donations are all well and good, but wouldn't it be nice if there was just wouldn't it be great if Twitch had some sort of system for enabling those kind of one-off donations, like within the chat or something. Like that would be. I feel like I've really hit on quite a good idea that they should really let us use. So we have some good news, which is that I've been hard at work. Now, you all have figured out by now that Ronin Porn does all of the directing and the studio
What?
producing and
What?
sorry, Houston does some whatever. And like running segments and preparing scripts and does all that stuff. For the past few days, I've been live streaming on this channel for about 5 minutes at a time, basically just singing or brushing my teeth. Or
I really
not
love
saying
the
anything at
brushing
all.
your teeth skit. It's one of my favorites.
All of that in order to allow us today, maybe several minutes ago, to finally reach affiliate status.
Yes, we are. We are subbable. We are cheerable as of the next live stream, and we are going to look into the various and myriad ways to take what is happening on the screen and involve it in some way with your subs and your cheers. So, thank you all
very
so
much.
for supporting and just the followers. We needed so many followers. We needed so many this and that and the
We had
other
a quota
things.
to meet.
Yeah. So thank you for supporting us to this point. We hope that you'll be back next week, wherein, you'll be able to throw money directly at our faces live, and we'll have nothing that we can possibly do but go, oh, thanks, that kind of a thing. That's going to be happening soon.
It's going to be nice. Yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Porn, for taking the risk on us today. Who knows what you might have said in that thing, but you took the risk and didn't listen to it first. And God, was it an experience to remember. And yeah, awesome one today. Loved it.
Well, and thank you for changing shirts 3 times during this.
What can I say? I go to the effort, okay? God.
And to all of you out there, from all of us here at Harv and Pawn, remember, the light at the end of the tunnel might just be you. We'll see you next time.
Harv, Porn, Harv, Porn. Porn and Harv and Porn and Harv and Porn and Harv and Porn and Harv and Porn. Harv and Porn.